Hi, I'm Emily, and this is the Behind the Scenes show. Today, I'm talking with the lovely Michael Baggett of the Amberson Baggett Band. Hi, Michael. It's so great that you've been able to join us.
Yes, ma'am. Thanks for having me.
Just wanting to find out a little bit more about you. I mean, your story is that you started playing music back in the 60s, and then by the 70s, you were playing Southern rock and then writing your own songs. But you were never quite able to make your mark in the business before now. Why is that?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people have trouble accepting the story that, a man had a dream and a vision for his life and spent 40 years accomplishing nothing. But you have to consider being born dirt poor in Alabama in the 60s into a family that thought those kind of opportunities happened to better people than us, and couple that with some life choices in history that wasn't productive at all. And 40 years can pass you by like a short melody. I started playing guitar when Southern rock was on the radio, and it took hold of me. Not that I became a fan of the music, but I wanted to be a part of it. And for me, being part of something doesn't mean you learn to copy it. It means you add something to it.
All right.
So I spent those years writing songs and trying to put the right band together. But the sad truth is, the right situation just never came around.
So what is it then that spurred you on now?
First, it was seeing my kids growing up, and they're all ambitious and want to do something with their lives. The boys in particular came up playing music, and I realized that they hadn't really seen me have any success at it. And also, the genre has come back around, and I felt the time is right because, at this point, I'm much better prepared for the opportunity and really just glad to have a second chance at it.
So how did the first CD release come about?
By the time that I met Ted, I was playing solo jazz. I would play weddings and, coffee shops and, nice dinners and things like that, and just me and the guitar. I could rehearse when I wanted to, I could record when I wanted to, I could play when I wanted to, and I got paid as much as I ever did in a band, so it was pretty cool for me. I had it going on, but it was just me. In the meantime, I had taken a job at the incinerator on the Anniston Army Depot, and we were doing away with chemical weapons that had been stored since World War II. The instructor was Ted Amberson. He talked a good bit about the band he was in. I was sort of still not going to be in a band, and Ted's younger than I am. His band was more alternative rock, not exactly my style. And he was struggling to keep musicians, which is kind of the typical thing. You'll have the band leader and then you'll have the other guys. And Ted was in the shoes of the band leader. And he talked to me a little bit about playing for him. He needed a bass guitarist, sometimes a drummer. At first I really wasn't into it. It wasn't my kind of thing, and I was doing my solo thing. And eventually started playing with Ted, and we did several shows together. Ted had a great song. It's called The Other Hand. Really excellent song. Really well put together. I mean, I never met anybody who didn't like the song. He got it on the radio and things were going pretty well. And then just out of the blue, he's done with it. He's going to give up music. He's going to walk away. By this time, I'm thinking that I needed to at least have a recording of these songs that I've had in my head all these years, so that if I were to pass on, that maybe the kids could do something with it later down the road and they could still have some gain from it. So I talked to Ted about singing for me, and he agreed to do it. And he told me later that in his mind he was thinking this would last a month or so, and then he could get on with his musical retirement. I wrote a couple songs for hire, spent my jazz gig money, bought some recording equipment, sat down with a drum machine, and recorded what actually became the first CD. Ted came over and sang, thought he was done with that. And so eventually I put a few things out on the internet, sent some things around, got contacted from LA on Luck Media Promotion. We began to talk, and they were like, why has it taken you so long to put this stuff out? I started to think, maybe I do have something here. So I printed a few hundred CDs. Luck Media promoted us, did an excellent job getting the word out. Still no bands, just me and Ted. Started doing the thing most musicians do, some attention started coming in.
I think it would be fair to say, though, that your blues song, Shoes for My Pillow, really earned you some attention, didn't it?
Yeah, Shoes for My Pillow. It's a true story from a pretty tough time in my life. It really did get things started. It's a blues, and we all love the blues. The song is about during one of my divorces, actually the most recent. I was sleeping in my car because, sometimes that kind of thing takes you by surprise. And I didn't really have much, but what I had was in this car. I had one Fender Stratocaster and one really small amplifier. Luckily that I left that guitar somewhere for this particular night. I had parked on Jacksonville Square, walked around, maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, came back to the car, and everything's gone. Just really lucky the guitar wasn't there, because that would have been a blow I don't know how I would have recovered from. So that night when I'm in my car trying to sleep, couldn't get comfortable, had to take the shoes off my feet and put them under my head, to get a little rest. I showed that song to Ted a little later. I can sing well enough to get the idea across, but I'm by no means a singer. So Ted, I would sing the song, give him a copy, he would work on it and then come in and do his thing. He says, I'm going to go all Led Zeppelin on this if you don't mind. I said, I don't mind, let's see how it sounds. So he really laid into Shoes. Not to be outdone, I went a little heavy on the guitar. That little bit of abandon there is the thing that put Shoes over the top and got people interested. One reviewer said that song was a skyscraper that towers above the rest of the CD. And I guess we should have put that much effort into every song.
So then how did the band actually all come together?
Yeah, it's kind of strange. We had a CD release before we even had a band. And then I was back in the position of being the band leader and trying to find the right people to fill out the group. We went through a lot of musicians, and either this guy's skills weren't up, or this guy had skills but he had an ego problem, or this guy, mediocre with a drug and drinking problem. That's the kind of thing that frustrated me through the years, was never being able to find a handful of guys that can work together for any length of time towards a common goal. We were using a drummer that had some good experience, and we decided to bring Luke in on bass and give him a try, and things started coming together pretty well. We started getting an opportunity to travel, and the drummer had travel restrictions, so there again we're dead in the water, and Luke said that we should bring in Chris. So we worked it out, brought Chris in, and when he sat down and played with us at the first rehearsal, the lights came on, the angels sang, the heavens opened, and it was like, this is the band. This is the group of guys that can do something.
And you get to play in a band with your sons. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's really one of the coolest things about this, is that for all the years I sat waiting for the right band and looking for the right band and keeping an eye out and trying this and trying that, I never would have thought that I would be over 50 years old and have to raise my own rhythm section to have the band I wanted.
I think a lot of bands, when they start out, they obviously love to find the success in their own countries. But, it's great to have international success as well and be recognised. Who first discovered you on an international level?
I got an email out of the blue one day that says, I want to write a review of your band in my magazine over here in France. It's called Bands of Dixie. I'm like, sure, let's do that. The gentleman's name is Luc Bruneau, and I didn't realize at the time that over in some of the other nations, there's a huge following for Southern rock in places you wouldn't imagine, like France and Italy and Germany, Amsterdam. These people own every album and they go to every concert they can, and the bands over there will copy the genre. Luc Bruneau is one of a handful of experts on the subject, and having written for the magazine as long as he has, he's met pretty much everybody, probably short of, the original Skinner band. These are people that he knows on a first-name basis. He's interviewed them, he's seen them play. So very awesome to have him, find us and say, I want to write about you guys. And that was the first bit of international media that we got, and it really, really opened some doors. Very thankful to Luke and Mr. Dimsley, Bands of Dixie. And then Luke, he's a radio host on several stations. He began to play us right alongside, the Allman Brothers and Molly Hatchet and Marshall Tucker.
Also, high praise indeed from Stewart Epps, who produced Zeppelin, Clapton and the Beatles. He called your guitar work brilliant.
Yeah, that's awesome. We were in discussion with Mr. Epps about producing our second CD. We sent some files to him, and after hearing Shoes from My Pillow, he came off the hip with that compliment, and man, that's humbling. Somebody that's worked with the people he's worked with and stood in the same room with those guys and made them sound as great as they sounded, to have something so flattering to say is words just can't describe that. It's a milestone in my life and in my career.
How then does your second release differ from the first?
Well, needless to say, we've spent a whole lot more time on the second CD than the first. With the first one just being what it was supposed to be, we put it together and put it out there. Well, now all of a sudden, these reviewers around the world, and they're saying, can't wait to hear the next one. Well, now it's not just something I'm going to leave behind to my family or something I'm going to sell to my friends. It's something that, now I've kind of got something to prove. There was some talk about the first CD, of course. I mean, we did it in a home studio. Several of the reviewers said, that the actual production of the CD was substandard, really. And hey, that's true. Well, I've spent the last couple of years really brushing up our skills and spending a whole lot more money on equipment. So this CD needs to come out rocking. We earned ourselves a second chance, but we got to take our third chance, really.
How would you describe the flavour of the songs on the new release? Are they going to be new or old?
Some of the songs that we have were written in the 70s and 80s and throughout all those years. Most of those, the lyrics have been updated over and over again, but the music is pretty much exactly what it was when I wrote it. With the energy of having the band here, we're writing some new stuff. Still the same flavor, but kind of brought into the modern time. Real authentic to the genre of the 70s. And that's what these people are looking for. They want to see another Skynyrd or something come on and just blow their mind. But we are going to bring some real authentic Southern rock into the picture. Now that I have the added skills of the boys, we're doing some things that even I didn't envision in these songs, adding their talent and their ideas, and it's coming together in ways that I had not pictured. But it's a lot stronger product than what I would have had if I had done another solo mission. The boys are always like, hey, I've got an idea for this. Let me put that down. Let's try anything, see where it goes. I mean, nothing's off the table.
Your song, Rise of the Rebel, it does seem very political. Is this a Tea Party anthem?
Yeah, that's not specifically intended to be a political song, but, I live in the U.S. during this time, and we're in a mess. And, the message of the song is as simple as this: right or wrong, good or bad, if you push somebody too far, if you force yourself on them, if you force your ideas on them, and it happens to be radically different from their ideas, sooner or later, they will rise up against it.
I love it when you get a real story behind a song, and I believe that with these new songs you've got some real stories behind them.
Yeah, after the incinerator job, I took a job at another factory that'll have to go nameless because of this story. The place was extremely dangerous to work in. Everybody there had what they call their badge. It's a finger ripped off or an arm ripped open or something like that, some stitches and some scars, and it's kind of a rite of passage of working at this place. And there's people that work there for as much as 50 years. It was kind of the first time I've seen people that with that kind of dedication, they're making a great living for their family, but every day could basically change their life.
Right.
To lose a limb, or there was even one guy that that I met while I was there, and he says, my dad got killed right over there on that machine in 1985.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I'm like, good Lord, and you still show up for work every day? I just couldn't imagine, walking past the machine that killed my dad on my way to work, my lunchbox in my hand, a cup of coffee. Needless to say, I didn't stay there. I need my fingers. They got something else to do. But I wrote the song, I'm a Man, driving back and forth to that job. There's a class of men out there that are rough and tough, and they get up every morning, sometimes to their own hurt, and they support their families, and they do what's required of a man. They're not going to let down the people that depend on them. That's what I'm a Man's about. Then there's another couple of songs, Snakebite and Blind Man. Snakebite could pretty much be about any of the alcoholics in my family or any of the ones I've encountered. It's lighthearted, but the message is do some soul searching, get a look at yourself and to see, at what level you're willing to take this. And Blind Man is about other kind of self-destructive activities, that just sort of a little advice from a guy looking from a different point of view.
What does it actually feel like, knowing that you're actually reaching a bigger audience and that, people are tuning in and listening to your music? I mean, that must make you feel real great.
Yeah, you think you're just this little band from Alabama. I remember the first thing I had happen was a car drove past me in traffic with one of our songs blasting, and I thought, wow, that's my song. I wrote that. And then, as time went on, I had people, stop me in public and go, hey, aren't you Michael Baggett? Hey, I bought your CD, man. You guys you guys rock. And that would always take me by surprise. I get emails, from Ireland or wherever, and I always try to answer those, because your fans and your friends, that's who keep you alive. Another thing is I'll find the band on blogs, have the computer translate it so I can see what's being said, and then I find our stuff on pirate sites. I guess if you're good enough to steal, you're pretty good, I guess. Another thing was, usually when we're interviewed, people ask us, who are your influences? Now I'm starting to find musicians around the world that say they're influenced by Emerson Baggett Band.
And in fact is, there are millions of bands out there. So what do you think it is that really sets you guys apart?
Well, the thing is, we're lifelong musicians, all of us. Some of us have been around a lot longer than the others, but the internet is a powerful tool, and it makes things in some ways very easy and in some ways very hard. Pretty much every band starts in the same spot. You put some stuff out there and see where it goes. One website I looked at had over 240,000 bands registered on it. Well, how do you rise above that? One of the things that just keeps coming back over and over in the comments I find are saying that Emerson Baggett Band has a depth of songwriting and a quality of musicianship. It's not like we got on the internet and learned where Jimi Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan put their fingers and we learned to put our fingers there. We've been playing all of our lives. It's not something new and it's not a passing fad, and we're not trying to sound like anybody else. I'm not online searching for licks that I can learn that this guy did or that guy did so I can put them in my songs. My stuff comes off the hip. Like I said earlier, I don't feel that you want to copy something. I feel that you want to add something to it.
Your band is also self-managed now. I mean, how did you come about that decision?
Yeah, we've gone through a couple managers, and the long and short of it is that nobody's as interested in my success as I am, and nobody cares as much about this band as me and the guys. We're just not interested in sitting on the sidelines and going, when you create me an opportunity, let me know. We're into creating our own opportunities. We're not going to be held back by anything at all, and that's just kind of where we felt like we were. And so we just, when the contract expired this last time, we just took it in-house, and that's the way it's going to be.
So, Michael, burning question. What does the future hold for the Emerson Baggett Band?
It's just, kind of one of those little silly things we say to each other, after we talk about we got a show, we got to do this, we're going to do that. At the end, the kind of a sign-off will go ever onward, and that's exactly what it's going to be. This isn't something that I'm going to decide, I just don't think I'm going to play guitar anymore. I mean, I need it as much as I need air to breathe and as much as I need my family and my friends. I know the other guys feel the same way, or they wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be doing the things we're doing. We're moving into a point now where we're going to be doing more festivals and things like that, not so much the bar scene. Been contacted about being an opening act on some pretty big stuff, and, getting our feet wet, getting in the door, making those contacts that are so very important. But that's us, Emerson Baggett Band, ever onward.
Well, Michael, thank you for coming on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I've really loved hearing all your stories, especially about the songs. So interesting. And long may the Emerson Baggett Band go onwards and upwards for the future. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.